This is the Sync Energy Link EV charger, often described as the smallest EV charger in the world. It's ideal for installs where you want to add EV charging without making a statement, because nothing says I've got an EV like sticking a massive box of electronics right on the front wall. With this one, you can tuck it away, neat, discreet, almost invisible. And yes, there are some properly practical, installer-friendly reasons you'd go this route too. We'll get into those shortly. And stay tuned, because we ran into a fault that had everything flashing red, accusations flying, and the fix is one simple thing installers need to know. Miss it and you can lose hours on site. But first, the obvious question, is it too small to work? We've seen small chargers before, and usually that comes with a compromise, not for the customer, for the installer, because you end up trying to wrestle chunky cable into a box the size of a sandwich, then somehow get the lid back on without trapping a conductor. This one's small, yes, but it's also genuinely easy to install, and it's not because they've stripped the features out. The trick is this: they've split the charger into two parts. You've got the bit the customer cares about, the neat little unit on the wall, and then you've got the bit the electrician cares about, the section that carries most of the electronics that actually make the charger work. And that's the clever part, because it means you've suddenly got proper working space in both locations. In this installation, this charger makes a lot of sense. We're fitting it to a listed building, and we're also in a national park dark sky area. So the last thing we want to do is upset the locals with a load of unnecessary light. More on that later. Now, the Link gives you two mounting options. First, there's the recessed version, where you only see the socket frame because most of the unit is sunk into the wall. You core out a hole, drop the housing in, very much like fitting an extractor fan. If you want the charger to be almost invisible, that's the one. But today we're going surface mounted because we're not about to start coring into a wall that's been standing there since the 1700s. Now let's get into the installation. The Sync Energy Link arrives as a complete kit. You've got the EV charging socket itself, and then the charger electronics are housed in what is essentially an enlarged consumer unit, rated IP65, so it can go outside if required. Because it's combined with that consumer unit enclosure, it already includes all the essential circuit protection, a 40 ampere MCB for overcurrent protection, a Type A RCD DC leakage protection handled within the charger electronics, pen fault protection, and a surge protection device, all built in. So from a compliance point of view, most of the heavy lifting is already done. Installation accessories are supplied in these little brown bags. You've got the cable glands, the current transformer for load monitoring, and the screws to secure the faceplate and mounting bracket. What you don't get are the wall fixings, and that's deliberate. They vary depending on what you're mounting into, and when manufacturers try to supply one size fits all fixings, they almost always end up being wrong and straight in the bin. Even the packaging is paper based, which makes disposal straightforward at the end of the install. In terms of build quality, it feels properly engineered. The socket front is made from a die cast metal construction, helping it achieve an IK10 impact rating, and when closed, the socket seals to IP65, which is reassuring given the kind of weather this place gets battered with. It doesn't feel lightweight or flimsy. It feels like something designed to live outdoors properly. First step is to remove the front of the socket. Most of the fixings use a security Torx bit, and that's supplied in the kit, which saves you hunting around for the right driver before you've even started. Now we can get the socket mounted to the wall. They supply a really robust template with the exact drill positions. I'm going to mark and drill the cable hole first, and once I've hit the spot and got this in the right place, I'll mark the mounting holes. A great design feature here is the mounting frame. It means you don't need to drill mounting holes through the housing, which reduces the chances of water ingress. You just drill out the back of the unit to bring the supply cable in from the consumer unit. You also have the option of cable entries from below. These are pre-marked and there's a cable clamp provided, but to keep the installation neat, we're coming from behind. Connections are simple: line, neutral and earth for the power, and then an RJ45 to connect the communication back to the main electronics board. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the install, making off the RJ45 connector for the comms. We're using EV Ultra here, so that's a combined power and data cable. Now at this point you're probably thinking, if the charger electronics are remote, why do we still need a data cable? Well, that data link is what lets the socket end do the things you actually see. It drives the indicator LEDs on the front cover, and it controls the locking mechanism that secures the connector during charging. And while we're talking about cables, this is a socketed or untethered charger, so a charger charging lead will need to be provided to connect the charger to the vehicle. Sync Energy now do a range of leads, and choosing the right one isn't just about where the charge port is on the car. It's also about how the customer parks. Are they reversing in or driving straight in? Because that changes which side the lead needs to reach and how much slack you actually need. They're available in 5, 8 or 10 metre options, so you can match the length to the bay and keep things tidy, and they feel properly robust as well, which is useful because at some point someone will leave the connector on the floor and drive over the end. Now back to the job in hand. With the charging socket complete, it's time to mount the charger electronics. This unit is again a solid weather rated enclosure, and because it's IP65 it could be mounted outside if needed. But on this job we've located it here in the garage alongside a new consumer unit we've installed. That's because we're also adding a few additional sockets as part of this project, and we're leaving some headroom for a future battery storage installation as well. There is also a plastic enclosure version available without the built-in circuit protection, and to be fair, that probably would have been the better choice for this particular job because we've already got protection sorted in the consumer unit as part of the wider works. And just like the socket, they've supplied a solid template that includes all the mounting locations, so it's straightforward to get it level, marked out and fixed in place. Inside the unit you've got the circuit protection elements on a removable DIN rail and the EV charger electronics mounted at the top. Up here you'll also see the connections for the current transformer used for load control, which is important on this property because the main service fuse is rated at 80 amps and the house has an electric shower and relies on electricity for cooking. That CT can also be used to integrate solar PV as part of the overall solution. You've also got two RJ45 connectors, one that runs out to the charging socket and another if you want a hardwired Ethernet connection in case the Wi-Fi isn't reliable enough. Which brings me to another advantage of this split approach. The distance between the socket and the charger electronics can be up to 50 meters, but the Wi-Fi connection is made between this control box and the router, and that can be a much better bet for signal strength, especially in a property like this with thick stone walls. I was slightly concerned Wi-Fi might be a struggle here because the enclosure is metal, but the design is clever with a plastic section at the top, so the wireless connection still has a fighting chance. And that top section also houses an LED strip that mirrors the status lights on the socket, so you can see what the charger's doing at a glance from either location. But of course, the real question is, does it work? Commissioning is straightforward, and it follows a process most installers will already be familiar with. You download the Sync Energy app and it guides you through the installer setup. You connect to the charger via Bluetooth, then simply follow the steps, including setting up the CT for load monitoring. One feature I particularly like is that you can see the live current value from the CT in real time within the app. It makes it very easy to confirm the CT is fitted the right way round and that your connections are correct, no guesswork. Another useful feature is that you can complete the installation even if Wi-Fi or networking isn't available by selecting plug and charge mode. That's especially handy on new build properties where the internet connection might not be live yet. You can still leave the charger fully operational without waiting for broadband to be installed. And one more thing I really like, in the app you can also turn the brightness of the indicator LEDs right down. That's ideal on a site like this in a dark sky area where there are no street lights and you don't want the charger lighting up the place all night. Now it's time to fess up. We did have a problem during the setup. The charger kept dropping into fault mode with all the LEDs going flashing red, and yes, there were some fairly scandalous accusations flying around that it was my RJ45 wiring, you know, the only remotely fiddly bit of the whole install. We tried a few things and we were just about to sack it off and phone the helpline when we decided to put the cover back on the control unit, and the moment we did everything went blue. Normal, happy, working. After a bit of head scratching it all made perfect sense. Under the UK charge point regulations, chargers need to indicate if covers have been removed and the unit has potentially been tampered with. On this charger the sensitive electronics are in the control unit, so it's that cover that needs to be in place, and you can actually see the sensor here that checks whether the cover is fitted. So the lesson learned: finish your electrical testing, then pop the cover back on before starting commissioning. So that's the Sync Energy link. Small on the wall but not compromised where it counts. If you've installed one, how did you find it? Smooth install? Anything that caught you out? Any tips for other installers? Get them in the comments. And if you've got questions about this job or the link itself, drop them below and we'll dive in. You'll find links to the full product data in the description and the pinned comment.